Hey, welcome back, Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Arey, and we think Disney is about to hit the reset button and reboot the entire MCU. And if that happens, what's next? What would the MCU look like after this reboot? What's going to change? Who's going to stay? And are they going to wipe the whole slate clean? Just start over, and this time with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. So we need to explain this MCU reboot, and we want to break down how Marvel should make this reboot happen. We're going to be talking about the entire story for the next saga, who should be the main villain, the new main heroes, and so much more. So let's reboot the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Alright, everybody has their own opinions on the current slate of the MCU, but we don't want to focus on whether or not Marvel should reboot or not. That is like for a different video. In this video, we want to talk about the reboot itself and what should happen after the reset of the MCU. You see, the basis for the multiverse saga is the 2015 version of the Secret Wars event from the comics. The short version is that all the different universes collided, the multiverse ended, and then it was reborn. So we think the movie Avengers Secret Wars is going to perform the same sort of function. It's going to reset or reboot the MCU with a simplified cast of characters that we're all more familiar with, just played by younger actors.
Yeah, bring back Iron Man and get Ryan Gosling to be the new Tony.
I don't hate that idea. High five. Spider-Man was rebooted twice in less than a decade. Batman just got rebooted and it worked out and it was perfect.
It was perfect. Perfect.
So at this point, a reboot really could be good for the MCU because, let's be real here, we all want to see the X-Men and the Fantastic Four in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But the whole point of getting them in the MCU is to see them team up with Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. We need that Wolverine versus Hulk fight on the big screen.
I'm gonna cut your goddamn head off.
Hey person, what are your New Year's resolutions?
I don't have any.
None?
Nope. I used to have a real problem with stress eating, like I was constantly snacking all day, and then I would always suck on breath mints that would give me headaches, and all of this was just caused by stress, so then I quit.
How'd you do that?
Well, I kicked my bad oral fixation habits by using Fume. They're the sponsor of this video.
Oh, is that a vape?
Nope, it's not a vape, it is not electronic, and it does not have pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals. Instead, it has these plant-based cores that are infused with natural flavors to create natural flavored air. I recently started my favorite flavor, orange vanilla, and it even freshens my breath.
Yeah, it does smell very nice.
Thanks, ma'am. You see, Fume uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. Plus, it has adjustable airflow and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which frankly is very helpful for calming my anxiety. Fume makes switching easy and even fun. They have thousands of 5-star reviews from more than 150,000 customers who have used Fume to change their lives and switched when other solutions just didn't work. So head to tryfume.com/ScreenCrush and use the code ScreenCrush to save 10% off when you get your Journey Pack today. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors and everything you need to finally be free of your bad habit. Plus, you can upgrade your Journey Pack with Fume Solano. This includes a premium walnut barrel and onyx black coated mouthpiece that has a smoother finish, and you still get 10% off. That is tryfum.com and use the code ScreenCrush to get an additional 10% off your order today. Now, back to what I was saying. So this is what should happen. This is how they should reboot. Ever since Loki Season 1, we've been told that the multiverse was going to end. Universes are colliding, and the more that happens, the more unstable the multiverse gets. The multiverse will be reset, and that is how the reboot happens. Some universes will merge, and the timeline will change to incorporate a new, updated history.
I'm going to erase your memories, make a few changes and start over again.
So, for example, that's how mutants can now enter the MCU. They will come from another universe, but once the realities merge, it will be as if the mutants have always existed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And in this alternate timeline, you can have Wolverine meeting Steve Rogers back in World War II. Also, since the multiverse ends and restarts, maybe there's a price to be paid, and some heroes will be erased from the timeline. So this could be a nice way to remove some characters that actually need to be rebooted. So that is how the reboot could benefit the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe and give them a second chance to tell stories in the next saga. The new Avengers could include Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk. They could reboot Ant-Man and the Wasp and this time go with Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, who are founding members of the Avengers in the comics. And the couple has a lot of story that was never touched on in the MCU, which is a huge shame.
Hank, this is not worth your life.
My life!
My risk!
No, it's your ego.
A rebooted and recasted Black Panther could be part of the team as well. The MCU needs T'Challa as Black Panther. He didn't get a chance to fulfill his story, obviously due to extremely tragic, very real-life circumstances. But T'Challa should be one of the main pillars of the saga. And then you throw in Wolverine and Spider-Man.
What about the Fantastic Four?
They should team up with the Avengers, but the Fantastic Four should always be their own separate team because they are a family. But they have an alliance with the Avengers, and the X-Men are also a separate team, with Wolverine being mostly the only mutant that jumps between both teams.
Thor, take care of those gunships. Spider-Man, draw them towards the stern.
Sure thing.
Wolverine, you
Do it, Boy Scout. I don't take orders from you.
So obviously the X-Men need to be the main pillar of the next saga, but the Fantastic Four must be right next to them. In fact, they can build the entire saga around just them, plus some other heroes, of course.
It would take all of us.
Then we stand together.
as a team.
They must reboot the X-Men after they get all the multiversal crossovers out of their system. It's going to be time to say goodbye to the Fox X-verse and update the X-Men for the MCU. The X-Men offer so many heroes, villains, ideas, and stories, you could easily fill out 3 phases of the next saga with just the X-Men. The Fantastic Four offer 4 incredible characters, plus Doctor Doom, Galactus, Silver Surfer, and so much more. Not to mention Reed and Sue's kids, Franklin and Val. And if you thought that Wanda was powerful, wait till you see what Franklin Richards can do. I mean, the kid can create universes.
What?
In fact, Marvel really needs to adapt Jonathan Hickman's run of the Fantastic Four from the comics. It is such a powerful story. It's actually what led into Secret Wars. Hickman focused on the Fantastic Four story as a family. It was about exploration and discovery, Reed's constant search to fix everything, an obsession that leads him and his family onto wild adventures to other worlds and other realities. That is how the Fantastic Four need to be in the MCU. They need to adapt the Future Foundation story, show how the Fantastic Four helped to forge the next generation of heroes and brilliant minds. Really lean in on the hope that these characters represent.
Intelligence is not a privilege, it's a gift. And you use it for the good of mankind.
And the big bad of Phase 9 has to be Doctor Doom. I know we talk about Doctor Doom a lot on this channel. Some of you may have just seen the movies, not read the comics. So I'm going to explain why Doom, and specifically the relationship between Doom and Reed, is the crux that the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe can spin on in this new saga. His mother made a deal with the devil, and Mephisto holds her soul in hell. Victor dedicated his whole life to obtaining enough power to defeat Mephisto and to save his mom. So he became a scientist, but he also learned how to wield magic. He's got this high-tech armor, and he's a man who made himself into one of the most powerful beings in the world.
So he's Batman.
Exactly.
I'm Batman.
He's exactly what Batman would be if Batman's mother had sold her soul to the devil. Victor liberated his home country Latveria, but then he became its monarch. He's obsessed with ruling the world because he believes he's the only one who can save it and make the world a better place. So, they must focus on Doom's rivalry with the Fantastic Four, especially with Reed Richards. Reed and Victor could have had an iconic story like Tony and Steve or Thor and Loki. They are 2 men who have great respect for each other. They were good friends, but then they became bitter rivals. 2 super geniuses who share similar goals for fixing the world, but they have 2 drastic methods on how to achieve them.
You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. I hate you.
And of course, let's hope that the MCU always has Spider-Man. After the reboot, Peter can be a much more mature and experienced hero, a Spider-Man who has been doing this superhero thing for over a decade. Now this is something we've never seen in any Spider-Man movie.
What about Tobey Maguire?
Yes, that's true, but I actually want to see Peter grow up on screen. It works pretty well for the PlayStation Spider-Man game, so that's a great route to take with the webhead. In Phase 7, Peter could even become a mentor to a new Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and eventually, Miles can become one of the new pillars of the saga, alongside the new Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the main X-Men characters. And also, they got Deadpool now, so like everything is going to be all right.
Thank you, Kevin Feige. Love you, Kevin Feige. Thank you, MCU.
Now, on top of the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and the new Avengers, we want to mention other heroes who should be the main players post-reboot. Marvel should expand their cosmic side, like with Nova. I mean, he could be the new guy leading the cosmic side, especially if Marvel moves away from Captain Marvel. Nova is an awesome space hero. He's basically Spider-Man meets Green Lantern. He could also start off as a teenager who grows up right in front of our eyes throughout the saga, becoming one of the greatest space heroes that ever lived. They should also do more stuff with Adam Warlock because they have barely even scratched the surface with him. Talked about that in a video too. And there's also the Silver Surfer. I mean, Marvel must make a Silver Surfer movie. A guy who made a deal with a planet-eating god to save his world. His whole existence is now serving Galactus. He must travel the cosmos, seeking worlds that will be consumed by his master.
How could you willingly serve this thing?
Because I must.
Doesn't it bother you?
all the worlds and innocent people you've helped destroy?
Okay, so those are the building blocks, and now it's time to go nuts. We're gonna map out the next saga, the entire story after the reboot.
This is where the fun begins.
Phase 7 will be about the aftermath of Secret Wars and the establishment of the MCU after the reboot. Then, in the climax of Phase 7, the heroes will assemble a new team. They will protect the world against a cosmic threat like Annihilus. He was the villain of the Annihilation Wave event from the comics. It was a big crossover of all the space heroes. Annihilus works after the reboot of the multiverse because he is from another universe. It's an antimatter universe called the Negative Zone. Now, in the comics, Reed Richards discovers the Negative Zone, and this could be a great through line for Phase 7. After Secret Wars, a bunch of universes will merge into one, but this makes the main MCU universe fragile, and there are these tears in space-time. The Fantastic Four will explore these tears in their movie, and they end up in the Negative Zone. They fight Annihilus and eventually escape, and this leaves the door wide open for Annihilus to invade the universe. So, in Avengers 7, or whatever the next big crossover event will be called, Annihilus invades this universe with his Annihilation Wave, which is a giant swarm of space bugs. So now you have the new Avengers assemble, and they go to space to stop Annihilus. Anyways, the X-Men will take center stage, and during the battle, Jean Grey merges with the Dark Phoenix.
The Dark Phoenix? Oh man, you're doing the Dark Phoenix again? Really, person? Jeez.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Yes, do the Dark Phoenix saga again. I know it's been done twice in the Fox movies, but it was terrible both times. But the Dark Phoenix saga is still one of the best X-Men stories ever. At least it's one of my favorites. And it could actually be a multi-year story in the next saga.
As humans like to say, third time's the charm, right?
Last year we made a 20-minute video about this, but now it's a good opportunity to revisit some of those ideas because that is how the MCU should be after this reboot. Like Phase 7 is Jean Grey becoming the Phoenix, and then Phase 8 is about her being corrupted and becoming the Dark Phoenix. They could go with the Phoenix being an entity that entered Earth 616 after the events of Secret Wars, and now it needs a powerful host, and that is Jean. Jean uses the Phoenix to defeat the big bad of this team-up movie, and this will lead us into Phase 8. The Phoenix being corrupts Jean, turning her into the Dark Phoenix. She becomes a cosmic threat, some aliens want to destroy Jean, and they attack Earth. You could have an incident where the Dark Phoenix goes on a rampage, like maybe she destroys a star or something. And this leads to Earth's heroes going after Jean, but the X-Men stand in their way to protect one of their own. And that is how we'll get the Avengers vs. X-Men movie as the big climactic event of Phase 8. And that's what everybody wants, right? Avengers vs. X-Men?
Yes! Hell yeah! Ah!
And since Wolverine is part of both the Avengers and the X-Men, he's stuck in the middle, and that could create some great tension for him. And then Phase 9 is the redemption arc. Doom will try to steal the powers of the Dark Phoenix and use it to create a better world. And then the Avengers will team up with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and other heroes to stop him. And then, when all hope is lost, Jean returns and redeems herself by using the Dark Phoenix to save the world. This could easily be the blueprint for the entire saga. They should simply use the reboot to clean some stuff up and then expand the MCU into new heights. Marvel should just work on how they tell their stories. A soft reboot of the MCU would be so awesome. It would enable creators to tell new stories involving characters that we already know from different franchises and combine them into one massive interconnected story where these different writers and storytellers are able to feed off each other. Just like in the heyday of the MCU back in Phase 3. Like, I fully trust Marvel to rebound and make the MCU better than ever. Anyways, what do you guys think about our ideas for the next saga? Do you think the MCU should be rebooted? How do you think it should be rebooted? Which characters go? Which characters stay? Which characters should be recast? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.